Allô la classe, aujourd'hui on va voir quelque chose qu'on a déjà vu en classe. Premièrement, les verbes pronominaux and then le passé composé. So today we'll be mixing these two together and it's not something that will be unknown to you. So both of them you've already known what their functions are, you already know what they do. Now it's just a matter of us linking these two together. So first of all, you're going to see a slide that we've already gone over in class, and then I'll give you some sort of exercise that might resemble an exam question. So without further ado, let's get started. Donc voilà, il y a quelques exemples des verbes pronominaux conjugués au passé composé. Right? And again, you've probably already seen this in class. But let me just go over it again, okay, in case you're doing review. Il s'est intéressé à la psychologie. So what we're going to do first is let's just find out what their infinitive is, okay? Let's always start with the infinitive just because it gives us a base for the transformation, okay? Il s'est intéressé à la psychologie. So he was interested in psychology, n'est-ce pas? So if I were to just say that in present tense, it would be il s'intéresse à la psychologie. But because let's just say for an exam, you're being asked to conjugate this in passé composé, you look at the verb, right? The minute you see that it's a pronominal verb, you know that the auxiliary will all be être. It doesn't matter what the verb is. Is this part of Mrs. Van der Tramp? No, right? But because it is a pronominal verb, it makes it simpler for us. The auxiliary will be être. Okay? So same thing here. This is the verb mettre, right? Is mettre part of Dr. Mrs. Van der Tramp? No. But because, again, we're talking about this specific person, right? He brought himself to right, if I were to translate it that way. That's why it's pronominal. And here it's se mettre. So again, rule of thumb on an exam, if you see the little pronom réfléchi here, remember it's a pronominal. You're being asked to conjugate that in passé composé. The auxiliary will be être. Okay, and again for the auxiliary, it's a bit the same way as we've already done with passé composé. You start with être as your auxiliary, followed by the participe passé. The same thing applies, right? So here it will be se lever, okay, for this particular one. And again, when you're changing the se to je, it's me, suis levé, and all of a sudden you take an I because the suis is être. So anything that goes with être, you need your accord. Same thing here with coucher. Les élèves du 102 se sont couchés à 22 heures hier. Right? So it's the verb here is se coucher. N'est-ce pas? So make sure that for the, oops, sorry, just messed this up here. Make sure that for the auxiliary, again, les élèves is ils, so that's sont, followed by your participe passé, and again, it's an ER verb, so just take away the ER, add E accent aigu, and then your S, of course, because it's plural masculin. All right? So again, rapidement, elles se sont installées, so the infinitive is s'installer. You're adding the accord because you have elles. Vous vous êtes bien amusé cette année-là. All right, here we have a little intrusion of bien, which is an adverb. We can get into that later, but for this particular lesson, don't really worry about that. Just worry about how you would conjugate pronominal verbs in passé composé. And again, the vous here, like all the red parts, is the pronom réfléchi, followed by your auxiliary, followed by your participe passé with your accord. And right there we can see that it's masculine plural with vous. All right, and same thing here again, maquiller, se maquiller, okay, pronominal, right? You put makeup on yourself. And here it is a feminine, right? Because you have an E. All right, so let's quickly, I'm not going to take too long here. let's quickly do some exercises. So you're being given sentences in présent, as you can tell, right? This is something we've done in 101. Let's go ahead and change those in passé composé. Okay. So again, what are we doing first? Find the infinitive. S'intéresser. Okay. Like we know already, if we're transforming that into passé composé, because it's for pronominal, we're going to be using the auxiliary être. So it would be je me, for the pronom réfléchi, suis intéressé, right? E accent aigu E, if I'm a girl, à la langue française. Oops, what am I doing? Okay, so again, you have your, so remember that your little S here will turn into me because it's je, followed by the être, followed by the participe passé of intéressé, and you need to make the accord because you're talking about an être here. Same thing here, se lever, right? So the way I would do this is nous, because it's se lever, se becomes nous, nous. What is the être for nous in present tense for the auxiliary? Sommes levés, and again, depending on the gender, right? It's either going to be an ES or an S simply. Tous les jours, and again, at 5 heures. It cannot be tous les jours, right? Because présent is tous les jours, every day, so that would be présent. So let's go with la semaine dernière. Ils se disent des bêtises souvent. So this one is the verb se dire, right? They tell each other, I don't want to say lies. Let's go with lies often, right? Wrong things often, okay? Even often is présent, so we're going to have to find another one for that. I'm not saying that you will have to do that on an exam to find another substitute, but for the sake of this exercise, I'll do that. Okay? Se dire, il, what is the pronom réfléchi? Se. And what is être au présent? Se sont dit. And here you're going to have to add an S. Okay? Because remember that if you have the auxiliary être, you need to make the accord. Ils se sont dit des bêtises le mois dernier. Okay. Last one. Here is se voir, right? You, how would I say that? You saw yourselves every week, or you see yourselves every week. So if I were to say you see yourself last year, you have seen yourself last year, it would be vous. Again, what is the pronom réfléchi? In this instance, same thing. Vous êtes vu, right? And again, it would take an S, but depending on your gender, it might be an ES, right? Vous vous êtes vu l'année dernière. All right, so hopefully that was simple. And again, if you're very lost with your auxiliary, remember that pronominal verbs, Dr. Mrs. Vandertramp always takes an être when it comes to passé composé, like the first part of the passé composé. And your participe passé remains the same. Okay, from what we've seen last class and what we'll see this class, it'll stay the same. The only thing is that because it's pronominal, because you're using être, you're adding the accord. Okay, hopefully that was simple. Again, if you have questions, you know where to find me. Merci. Au revoir.